Individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean. Water is the driving force of all nature, a vital resource that has fueled human progress. It transports solids, dissolves minerals, chemicals and nutrients, and stores thermal energy. This carrier characteristic allows for countless industrial, agricultural and transport processes. But water is also the key to life. The water in our oceans is home to phytoplankton that produce 70% of the oxygen we breathe. The lakes and rivers and the groundwater beneath our feet are our sources of drinking water, without which we would soon perish. In nature, water purifies and renews itself endlessly as it flows throughout the planet's hydrological cycle. The energy source of the sun evaporates water carried via the Gulf Stream to the western shores of the British Isles. This evaporation across the Atlantic forms clouds. When the warm, moist air hits our western shores, it is forced to rise above high ground, where it cools and condenses. When the water vapour forms large enough droplets, this results in precipitation as rain falls onto the land. Some of this water percolates through the ground into rivers and streams as groundwater flow, and also fills up lakes as surface runoff, eventually completing the hydrological cycle by returning the water to the sea. But in this film, we are going to look at the power of water. Water contains two kinds of energy. The first kind of energy is called kinetic energy. This is energy that is used in moving water. Because of kinetic energy, water can flow and waves can exist. But water can also contain potential energy. This is energy that is stored in the water, stored but not used. Like a lake high up in the mountains, where this energy can become useful when water starts to flow down the mountain. It will be transferred to movement or kinetic energy. This is the principle behind hydroelectric power. There is another way this transfer of potential energy to kinetic can be useful, and that is using tidal power. In Nova Scotia, the Bay of Fundy has the highest tides in the world, up to 58 feet in some places. The Bay of Fundy is an amazing world-class eco-attraction. The mighty tides churn twice daily. 100 billion tonnes of seawater roll in and out of the bay. The huge flow of water into and out of the Bay of Fundy is equivalent to all the world's rivers combined. At low tide, you can literally walk on the ocean floor for miles, but have to be very careful, as you cannot outrun the incoming tide in places. At Annapolis Royal, a tidal power station plant has been generating 100 megawatts of power since 1986 by letting the tide fill into the Annapolis Basin at high tide. Then, by controlled dams, redirect the water at low tide via the power station turbines back into the Bay of Fundy. This is similar to hydroelectric plants, but with the huge advantage of guaranteed water every 12 hours to turn the turbines. The water temperature in the Bay of Fundy varies only slightly throughout the year, which, when combined with the extreme tides, creates lots of nutrient movement, ideal conditions for the scallop and lobster fishing industry. The rich feeding grounds make the Bay of Fundy one of the world's most accessible sites for viewing marine mammals. Every summer, whales come into the Bay of Fundy to mate, play and feast on the bountiful supply of food, churned up twice a day by the powerful tides. This stirring up of deep, nutrient-rich water into shallow surface water causes immense blooms of plankton, floating food that nourishes all marine life. The most commonly sighted whales in the Bay of Fundy are the humpback whale, the minke whale and the finback whale. We move now to another type of tidal power project in the Petite Passage on the Digby Neck, where the water funnels between the Bay of Fundy and St Margaret's Bay. A UK company, Nova Innovation, has been awarded a contract by the provincial power provider Nova Power to develop an experimental 1.5 megawatt tidal generating array in the seabed of the passage. The project, which is phased, started with a single 100 kilowatt turbine and will eventually see 15 new tidal stream turbines installed on the seabed by 2024, generating electricity from the natural ebb and flow of the strong tides in the passage. Similar projects by Nova Innovation in Orkney and Shetland in Scotland provide charging points for the electric and hybrid cars on the islands. The turbines work in harmony with marine wildlife, and there are no dams or barriers involved. Ships and sailing boats can pass overhead unaffected as the turbines do not pose navigational issues. Water takes on many forms and is the most abundant resource on our planet. For many of us on this earth, clean water is so plentiful and readily available that we rarely, if ever, pause to consider what life would be like without it. A river cuts through rock not because of its power, but because of its persistence. Water seeks its own level, and water rises collectively. With every drop of water you drink, every breath you take, you are connected to the sea, no matter where on earth you are.